The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, guys. That's right. It is Monday, September 23rd, and today is National Family Day, you guys. Look at that. Nothing from the peanut gallery? Okay. It's also National Teal Talk Day. National Snack Stick Day. We snap into a Slim Jim.
Y'all hear Jason?
Mm-hmm. It's also National Great American Pot Pie Day. National Checkers Day, Dogs in Politics Day, and Restless. Is it Restless Legs? Restless Legs. We hit play. Restless Legs Awareness Day, you guys. Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above or down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So thank you to everyone joining us from any one of those audiences. Apparently,
I can't hear a word you're saying, Jason. I hope you're talking.
I am. I have been. I have been talking. I hear you. I hear you guys. I don't know what your guys' problem is. I can hear all of you guys. But go ahead, Rico. It is the dope dad himself rocking his favorite color, orange. That's right. It is the dope
National
dad
We
himself.
Can't Hear Jason Talk Day.
Rico Lamitte.
Millie, we might need you to...
Hey, guys. I'm working on it. Rico, if you could go into your story. Thank you.
Right.
Rico, go ahead. Go ahead, Rico.
Jason, I need to close Discord. You do your story.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm going to do my story then. I'm going to roll into my story then. Okay, you guys. Employer.
we should just put some other kind of...
Employer zero... Rico, hold on. Employer zero tolerance marijuana policy is justified termination. A federal district court agrees, you guys. Very interesting. A zero-tolerance marijuana policies are not unlawful in Illinois, a federal district court has determined, providing greater clarity for employers. In late 2019, Illinois amended its marijuana law, the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, the CRTA, to ensure employers could continue to implement policies prohibiting workers from using marijuana or marijuana products despite the state's decision to permit adult use marijuana use. Nevertheless, you need to mute all of them. Nevertheless, the extent to which employers could enforce their policies in possible conflicts with Illinois' law prohibiting discipline for unlawful non-work activities remained. A new court decision, White versus Timken Gears and Services Incorporated, number 21 CV 2290, has answered some of these questions, providing further support for Illinois employers that have adopted and want to continue to enforce zero tolerance policies regarding marijuana.
The employer company develops, manufactures, and sells industrial motion products such as aggers, gear drives, and transmissions. The company implemented a drug and alcohol policy that prohibited the unlawful manufacture, distribution, dispensing, possession, or use of controlled substances or alcohol in the workplace, and the policy defined controlled substances to include marijuana. The employer also required employees at its manufacturing and distribution centers to undergo random drug screenings. The policy provided that an employee, upon a first-time positive test result, would be required to participate in counseling. They say stop using the substance for which they tested positive, and we need to hit play. Yeah. And submit to unannounced follow-up testing. A second positive result would subject that employee to immediate termination of employment, you guys. The plaintiff's employee worked for their employer as a territory account manager in that role, and he worked from the home selling products and repair services, but also drove a company car to customers' facilities, you guys. On December 6th of 2019, the employee tested positive for marijuana on a random drug test, and he participated in the employer's employee assistance program and continued to work during that time, except he was not allowed to drive a company vehicle. On January 6th, 2020, oh, it's a popular date, look at that, the employee was required to submit to a follow-up drug test, and the result was negative. On January 21st, 2020, the employee was required to take another drug test, and this time the result was deemed a negative dilute, which the employer treated as a failed test. The employee was allowed to take a retest, and his result was again deemed a negative dilute. The employer was unable to reach the employee via a phone afterward, and the employee did not respond to the company's email to him. On January 27, 2020, the employer permitted the employee to undergo a second retest, and his result was positive for marijuana. As a result, the employer terminated the employee's employment, citing his violation of the drug and alcohol policy. The employee filed suit against the employer for allegedly violating the IRWPA, this whole bunch of code and whatnot, and this case was removed to the U.S. District Court of the Northern District of Illinois. The IRWPA prohibits an employer from firing an employee because the individual uses lawful products off the premises of the employer during non-working and non-call hours, and 820 ILCS 55/5A. As of January 1st, 2020, cannabis is a lawful product under the IRWPA. However, Illinois' Cannabis Regulation and the Tax Act, the CRTA, addresses employment and employer liability for conduct relating to the use of cannabis under state law. Section 10 through 50 specifically addresses what actions employers can take regarding cannabis-related violations. Those provisions were central to the court's analysis of the employee's claims against the employer, and engaging in statutory interpretation, the court identified three key provisions from Section 10 through 50 of the CRTA. First, the CRTA authorizes employers to adopt two types of drug policies: a zero tolerance or drug-free workplace policies, or employment policies concerning conduct in the workplace or while on call. The court emphasized that the CRTA authorized adoption of either type of policy, and that a zero-tolerance policy needed to be limited to employees in the workplace. Second, the CRTA states that employers may discipline or discharge an employee for violating their employment policies or workplace drug policies, and the court stated that this provision not only authorizes employers to adopt drug policies, but it also authorizes employers to terminate employees for violating them. And third, the CRTA precludes employees from bringing claims against an employer for certain actions taken pursuant to their drug policies, including reasonable and non-discriminatory random drug testing. The court stated a plain reading of this provision indicates that an employer may enforce its drug policies through random drug testing so long as the testing is 1, reasonable, and 2, non-discriminatory. The court summarized these provisions as follows. Employers may adopt a zero tolerance or drug-free workplace policy. Zero tolerance or drug-free workplace policies need to be tied to, in quotes, in the workplace conduct, such as policies may be enforced through reasonable and non-discriminatory random drug testing, and an employee may be terminated for violating the employer's drug policy. Applying this interpretation to the case at hand, the court determined that the employer had adopted a permissible zero-tolerance policy that it enforced through random drug testing. Therefore, in order to prove a violation of the CRTA and, in turn, the IRWPA, the employee needed to show that the employer's actions were either discriminatory or unreasonable. The court concluded that the employee had not made such a showing and therefore granted summary judgment in the employer's favor, you guys. Explaining its reasoning, the court observed that the employer had not selected the employee for testing based off a legally protected characteristic, so the employer's policy and enforcement could not be discriminatory. As for reasonableness, the court noted that the employee had acknowledged receipt of the employer's drug and alcohol policy, which advised him of the company's drug testing procedures and potential consequences for violating that policy. The court also noted that the employer did not immediately terminate the employee for a first-time positive test and critically allowed the employee to provide a negative test result before conducting additional follow-up testing. After further observing that the employer granted the employee more chances to comply than its policy then required, the court concluded that both the employer's policy and its implementation of the policy were reasonable. Because the employer's policy and actions were neither discriminatory nor unreasonable, the court held that the CRTA allowed the employer's actions resulting in the termination of the employee's employment, and the employee could not maintain a claim against the employer under the IRWPA, you guys. Illinois is one of numerous states that has legalized adult use marijuana. Despite early uncertainty regarding the interpretation of Illinois' laws around marijuana use, the court's interpretations have helped clarify that employers can still implement drug-free workplace policies, including zero-tolerance policies, and enforce them, including by requiring random drug testing. And the Timken case further demonstrates that Illinois' employers' zero-tolerance policies are not restricted to prohibiting only in the workplace conduct, and adverse action can occur as long as it is not unreasonable or discriminatory. Still, some employers are well advised to closely review their drug-free workplace and testing policies and, if necessary, revise to ensure that employees are aware of the employer's expectations regarding drugs, including marijuana, and potential consequences of a policy violation, you guys. Well, this guy lost his job for a failed drug test, and man, oh man, he tried to fight it and got it handed to him in court, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Well, we don't have a hell of a lot to say because we missed the barge portion of it. But, I mean, it sounds like they gave this guy a couple other chances to provide some clean pee. He's like, here's the rules, just to go over it again. We agree, right? Pee in this cup. Mm-hmm. You're all good. And then all of a sudden, he did it again and again and again and again. He's like, I can't believe they fired me.
I mean,
is that what the article
so basically this guy is claiming that he used cannabis on his off time, apparently, from my understanding of this, and he produced a positive and then was given the opportunity to retry the test. But I'm not sure what a negative dilute test means. That I don't. It
means that he put some water or something in there to try to make it.
Oh, he tried to cheat. He tried to use like the water weenie or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fiddled in the pee, dog.
Got it.
Yeah, a couple of those in college.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense.
Why did this guy just get a Whizzinator?
Yes.
Like, put the little bottle between your butt cheeks. The hand warmer will keep it good till you drop it off in the cup. One. You're not going to watch your wiener.
Mm-hmm.
I did after they had a could not determine. They only had cloudy piss, and then they brought me back in there.
Well,
that's when the Whizzinator,
your
properly
test was for athletics, right? Though, Rico, your test wasn't from an employer.
Yeah. Don't
Yeah,
matter. Same
exactly. Yeah, no, that's different rules though. There's different rules. Employers, for employers and whatnot, they can't follow you into the bathroom like they can with college.
Yeah, they don't watch you TT.
Yeah, they can.
No.
Yeah, they can. They did when
Depends on the industry.
Yeah, they did when I did a drug test for one of my old jobs here.
I just wanted to see your wiener, Rico.
There were a bunch of Peter gazers, huh, Rico?
Like, I don't know why I got a drug test every day, you guys. This is weird.
Watching is hot these days, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
So, okay, so this guy did everything but go get some clean piss. Like, I'm sure that I've got some guy friends, especially during my pregnancy, they passed the drug test. They might have popped for pregnancy, but they passed the drug test, and I helped them out with that. So, I mean, like, this guy
You did not help any guys pass a drug test. That is not true because male pee and female pee is very, very distinctly different.
Well, they clearly didn't check.
A female pee is pink.
You can test the liquid for chromosomes.
Yep, exactly. Thank you,
Yeah, but
Yarrow.
I don't think that the little center that does like the pre-drug screening $5 test is really doing all that much.
So here's the challenge, right? And to me, here's the rub, right? On the one hand, we don't want. No, you stop it, young man. On the one hand, we don't want government intruding and interfering with how private businesses run their businesses. And so this CRTA, this whatever that stands for, help me out here, the Illinois Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act.
Why does it matter?
The CRTA gives broad latitude to private companies to adopt their to enact their own drug policy.
That's correct.
And it says whatever your drug policy is, that's mostly okay with us, right? And so we can understand why we don't want the government interfering in everything. And on the other hand, it doesn't provide protections for employees for what they do when they're not at work off of work time. And so that's an inherent problem that would likely come up someplace. And so I'm not surprised that in 2024, we're covering this case from 2019 that has slowly worked its way through the court systems because what that wide latitude in allowing employers to determine their own policy, what that wide latitude has given is a lane for them to fire somebody for activity that didn't occur while they're working and is state lawful. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And all.
Well, the biggest thing this points out to also is that the flawed methodology of the test. Because the cannabinoids sit in your fat cells, it's not like an alcohol or other drug test where if you test positive, you're actually under the influence. If you're a heavy smoker, especially if you're doing like dabs and stuff, you can test positive for weeks. So they still are yet to come up with a test that accurately reflects if someone is actually on cannabis and high or not. Mainly, they should do the Oreo test, right? Like, come in for your drug test, like, dude, you want some Oreos, bro? Get more than 4 Oreos, you're fired.
That's
Fair
fucked up, Jenny. Come on.
Rico loves fucking Oreos. He would get popped every time. If the test to see if you're high or not is, do you want this Oreo? Rico doesn't have a job anymore.
That's ridiculous. We're going to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
I'm making stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was weird. Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Yes, that's right. We're rolling right into the dope dad himself, who finally, hopefully, has his audio situations and can actually hear me introducing him this morning. He's here rocking all orange like the orange man. That's right. It is none other than the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Yeah, don't approve, but I still think it was funny.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Say you can't stop laughing.
One less testing facility opened this morning after California regulators announced the revocation of San Diego-based Verity Analytics license to operate. The news comes as part of an ongoing statewide crackdown on testing facilities engaging in unethical practices, including inflating THC potency. According to MJ Biz Daily's Chris Roberts, Verity's closure marks the fourth lab to lose its permit since December 2023, following similar actions against THC analytical pro forma labs and California cannabis testing labs. The revocations are primarily due to issues deemed to be undermining consumer safety, such as inaccurate THC reporting and the presence of banned pesticides. The Department of Cannabis Control highlighted in the article that an unexpectedly high number of labs have failed to comply with new testing standards, resulting in a significant drop in the number actively operating from 37 in January to just 27 today. Verity Analytics faced multiple violations, including a 32% inflation in THC potency and employing unqualified staff. Roberts said that the DCC also found that Parinaz Rostamzadeh, Verity's lab director, would clear samples for pesticide contamination based on her visual inspection of the chromatogram and not based on any scientific criteria. Passed the eye tests. According to DCC notices obtained by MJ Biz Daily via public records requests, each of the four labs that lost their permits over the past year inflated THC potency, with one allegedly inflating the THC potency of flower samples by nearly 50%. Notices revealed that Proforma Labs reported cannabis flower containing 24% THC, while DCC test results produced of products from the same batch showed 16% THC. Proforma was also found to have tested cannabis containing chlorphenapyr, a prohibited pesticide, despite not reporting its presence. And while some industry operators welcome the DCC's enforcement actions, they stress that more robust measures are needed to ensure testing reliability and protect consumer health. This comes in addition to lingering concerns over the extent of contaminated products that may have already reached the market. Overall, DCC lab crackdown reflects a broader push for integrity in California's legal cannabis industry. Whether the initiative's actually working or not, or it will actually deliver a lasting effect remains to be seen. Personally, I believe too much is at stake here in our entire industry to have headlines like this becoming the new norm. Currently, testing labs are for-profit entities with a disproportionate amount of power over what actually hits the market. And unfortunately, many of the good actors who refuse to inflate THC numbers and or ignored the presence of heavy metals and pesticides have gone out of business by now. And though it's more visible in California due to size and influence, recent headlines from a multitude of other states show that poor lab ethics is a nationwide problem. With public safety at risk and rescheduling right around the corner, I would not be surprised if this is one of those situations where the federal government is going to end up stepping in to take over. But that's just my take. It's Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. I'd love to hear the rest of y'all's thoughts on this. Are we heading into government-run testing and the implementation of nationwide standards, or is unchecked capitalism just going to keep doing its thing? Because this is America.
Oh, boy.
Well, I've got some opinions.
Go ahead.
So in the past, lab testing has not had a standardized single way of doing things. And the argument for not doing that was we didn't need regulators acting as scientists and coming up with an SOP one size fits all. And now the argument to do that is going to be that the industry couldn't get its shit together, self-regulate, and come up with something that everybody agreed was going to be like the ANSTI standard or whatever for how these processes and machines are used to come up with the empirical data, right? So I think as you see these lab closures and we see headlines around are the labs participating in ways to not have certain things detected or overinflating results, there's going to be this pendulum swing back towards this feeling, especially outside of the lab testing C-suite community, that the government needs to tell labs how to do it so that it's an even playing field. Will that happen? I'm not so sure. But when you see the number of labs that have been shut down, knowing that this is the hardest license type to stand up, and that once you get that ISO 17 whatever thousand accreditation, that's a big deal, and it's probably equally as big deal to get your lab shut down, right? It's not like you violated one small thing in how you handled the compost from your grow room. I think we probably will start to see some sort of government standard foisted upon that subsection of the industry.
We blew our chance.
Well, yes, and right. So they've been trying to, in the lab space, come up with a standardization for at least California, right? To say that these are the metrics that we use. This is how we validate these processes. But it's taken them so fucking long to come up with the process, to validate the process, that here we are in this kerfuffle and people are smoking God knows what out of God knows who. So I think, I brought this up last time we were talking about lab standards, and it does look like we're pushing it more and more towards, like, if this is a huge public safety issue. This is not just, oh shit, somebody lied about whether they were ins or dems. This is a public safety issue. We don't know what could be passing through and onto the shelves of consumers. And some things that are safe, perfectly safe for regular adult use consumers who are fully healthy, are not safe for somebody who is a child, who's a medical patient. So we do have to take that very seriously. And I think the more that we screw the pooch here, the more realistic it looks for the government coming in and saying, you know what, fuck it, we have our own lab. We're just going to take over a couple of years, and this is what we'll do.
I don't think the government's going to take over lab testing at all, because I don't think they want the liability.
No, they're not going to take over lab testing, in my opinion, but they could foist upon labs a singular standard or way of testing so that there's parity amongst all labs, and that labs don't use the argument that because their equipment isn't standardized, therefore their process shouldn't be standardized.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of what they're working on in the validation processes. So I guess we'll see where they get with that and how much more bullshit we have to smoke before they figure it out.
I smoke weed my friends grow that I know has no toxins on it.
Right.
I don't care about THC numbers.
Yeah, anyone that buys weed based off THC numbers is an uneducated consumer. That's the nice.
I'm just over here winning.
Though, we do have a lot of uneducated consumers, and we have to remember, I don't think it's fair to ever mention this without mentioning what I'm about to say, which is we have to remember that not only are those uneducated consumers buying based on the numbers, but they're buying based on the numbers because the taxes are so high that they feel that they need to achieve a value in their purchase. And myoptically, they're looking at the THC levels and trying to figure out what's the best bang for the buck. And so I think part of that consumer behavior is definitely driven by a tax structure that's not good for the consumer.
Well, and I
back
think
against
that
that and say that's I don't agree at all, Yarrow. The THC numbers were pushed through by the stores before Proposition 64 ever started. It's because, again, the majority of the people who started the stores have no clue about weed, jumped in to make money, not for the love of the plant at all.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with Matthew. I agree with Matthew 100%, and we need to be a little bit more cautious when we say we have uneducated consumers, because we have uneducated consumers because we've used it, and I don't mean me and us specifically. We as an industry have used it as a marketing tool to miseducate our consumers so that we can get them to buy whatever the fuck we're selling them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And on that, we're going to keep this train rolling. Rico, you want to do? You want to introduce Jenny real quick?
Yeah. Up next.
All right.
Y'all know who it is. The Juice Behind 501(c), and she's also the mind behind Kind Cannabis Consulting. Here to piss off Jason with a little Monday morning Republican the female gender, which male Republicans do not respect. It's Beth Dills.
Oh boy.
Was that introducing me or Jason? All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm good. Shit. All right. So we're going back to Missouri, and we're talking about my favorite topic, which is social equity and theft of said social equity, because in Missouri, serious concerns are surfacing about predatory contracts within the state social equity marijuana program. This initiative was meant to provide opportunities for those impacted by the war on drugs, including disadvantaged business owners and disabled veterans. However, recent reports reveal that the reality may be far from this goal. Destiny Brown, a Black disabled veteran, was under the impression she would own and operate a cannabis dispensary with the help of investor Michael Hollow, who promised $200,000 in support. Brown's qualifications included her veteran status and her father's marijuana offense, and seemed to align perfectly with the program's intentions. However, the fine print of the contract she signed aimed to give Hallow full control of the business, using Brown as a front due to his own disqualifying felony. This is not an isolated incident. Contracts obtained by the Missouri Independent suggest a pattern where out-of-state companies and cannabis insiders exploit qualified applicants to secure licenses, only to marginalize them for profits and decision-making. The practice of using these applicants as mere legal fronts is drawing scrutiny from legal experts who deem these contracts as potentially predatory. Potentially is laughable there. Investigations are currently underway. The Missouri Division of Cannabis Regulation is examining several licenses to ensure they remain genuinely owned and operated by eligible individuals. Meanwhile, Destiny Brown has to take steps to distance herself from Hallow and his associates, hiring a lawyer and appealing the revocation of her license. However, her appeal faces challenges due to procedural issues, raising concerns about the fairness of the process. In a broader context, this situation highlights significant challenges within the social equity cannabis programs as they struggle to fulfill their promises amid exploitation by savvy insiders. As more details emerge, the focus remains on ensuring these programs genuinely benefit those they were designed to help. Obviously, this story makes me angry. We've spoken about this situation in Missouri quite a few times, and it went from Missouri's doing a great job with social equity to, oh, fuck, what's happening in Missouri? And if you read the article, it goes on to explain that it's pretty lengthy. This gentleman lives in Puerto Rico, first of all, and has 64 licenses throughout the United States, all which probably have these predatory contracts. So these aren't like people that are one-offs. These are people who are the same groups every time. I speak to applicants all the time, and I'm like, have you talked to X, Y, Z? Blah. I'm like, okay, cool. So all the usual suspects have already come and tried to steal your business. We can move forward with people who are going to actually bring you money. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. It's getting sad, and hopefully we can figure this out. You guys don't sign these fucking contracts. If you don't understand it, make sure you do before you sign something.
Man, oh man, this is. I mean, well, first of all, I've never said that Missouri had an amazing social equity program. I said that they have probably the best market out of all the markets in the country. But that
Missouri,
that has nothing to do with.
We're gonna sit down one day and say all the states' names and their capitals, and it's gonna be a fun day.
I know all the states' capitals.
Give him a cheat sheet if you're going to test.
I don't need to
50
cheat.
names
I don't
deep.
need to cheat. I could pass all 50 states, no problem.
It's the pronunciation, bug dog.
It's not the pronunciation.
You're only going to get to the I's. We'll have
Let's talk about this. I want to stir the pot this morning. I am so sick of people complaining about not reading the fine print. Okay, you are not a victim. You are lazy. If you are successful enough to enter into the military and understand chain of command, SOPs, written instructions, and the way things are done, and you enter into an agreement that is going to at least give you almost $250,000, and you don't read the fine print on a 40-page agreement, and you don't hire an attorney for $250 to protect your $200,000, I'm sick and tired of people playing victim. It doesn't mean that social equity operators aren't exploited. It doesn't mean that the agreement was fair, but it does mean you done fucked up. Okay? And what this article says is that this guy was sued by somebody else before who said the same thing, and he won. He won the other lawsuit, and he made them pay his legal fees. So she didn't like the terms, and she says that she didn't read her agreement. And that, in my mind, is what is wrong with America across the board. Do the work, but don't complain about what you didn't get for the work you didn't do.
Yarrow, you can still end up in a predatory situation, which you well fucking know, even if you do the work, right? So there's still some people are just, those are those people that are
what this article's about. Yeah, you're right. I could also trip on a toy on my floor and split open my big toenail and end up having to go to the doctor because I have a blood clotting issue. But that's not what this article is about. This article, paragraph 2, says she didn't read the 40 pages. Now, if it was 400 pages or 4,000 pages, but 40 pages, for the love of God, everybody's got enough time to prioritize their business and to treat their business like a business. And she didn't do that. And that's really unfortunate for her. It's unfortunate for her partner. And it's unfortunate because she probably agreed to a set of terms that wasn't fair and equitable. But she did that. She didn't get taken advantage of. There's always somebody who's going to try to come up with a disproportionate set of outcomes that favors them and not you. And if you're in business and you don't look at that, then you're not ready to be in business.
It is a mistake, absolutely, but that's why these social equity applicants are preyed upon so much, because they don't have the fucking business acumen to go read the fucking contract. Bullshit, Yarrow, are you serious? Really?
Yeah, I am really serious.
Yarrow's really serious.
I'm really serious.
He's so serious.
Well, I'm glad that you have the education and you have the acumen and you have what it takes. But you know what? It sucks. Yes. Have these people made really bad decisions? Absolutely. Does she need you yelling it at the top of your voice on a Monday? Yes. No, because this woman just lost every fucking thing. She doesn't need to hear it from you. She knows she fucked up.
So
that's capitalism. Didn't read the contract, you're screwed.
If she lost everything, did she or did she not get the $200,000? Because that's not a loss to me. That's a gain that wasn't as good as the gain I wanted. And unless Destiny Brown doesn't have a complete high school education, and unless Destiny Brown chose to bypass having a legal, like a contract lawyer look at her contract, we have to understand that our compassion needs to be reserved for the people who are not putting themselves in situations, but who got put in situations. And one of the biggest problems in this conversation right now is about a lack of ownership. And I
lack of
without knowing more about her, it's hard for me to feel sorry and to lump this into the, we are all getting taken advantage of.
I don't think this is a feel sorry for me piece. I think this is a look at what's able to happen with guys like this guy who don't even fucking live in any of these states he's operating in. He has 64 fucking licenses. I bet with 64 contracts that look exactly like this one. This is a cautionary tale so that people do read the fucking contract.
So the moral of the story is
this is a great example of capitalism at work.
Capitalism is great.
Those with superior resources take advantage of those with less resources. That is America.
The commie talk. Listen, I mean, at the end of the day,
why is the cannabis industry in charge of social equity? Why aren't we looking at the banks and the industrialists who funded the slave trade? Why aren't we looking at the actual people who perpetrated social injustices in our country, paying this back? Why is it suddenly on the onus of cannabis?
I agree with you on that totally, bro. I am 100% with you on that.
It should not be further.
So right about that. It should not be on the backs of cannabis, for sure.
Agree, Jason. And I think that the social equity program has been flawed from the beginning because it has lumped in actors of privilege who have suffered from greed and avarice with people of color who were targeted by the FBI, CIA, and the drug game.
Right.
I know personally any people who are white appearing and were greedy and therefore got arrested and now have social equity permits. I know a lot of people are black and brown and economically disadvantaged. They're still left outside of the system.
Would you say those greedy white appearing folks?
For one, think that social equity is a boondoggle just in itself and should be abandoned, because it doesn't in any way reflect any sort of actual social justice or equity or parity.
But it's supposed to create generational wealth.
Listen, listen, Mathieu St. Germain, be glad that you're a married man, because that fucking speech you just gave was inspiring. Listen, I completely agree, and that is a large portion of what's wrong with the social equity programs, Jason.
You know what we call it, right, Jenny? We call it socialist equity.
Yeah, we call it fucked up. We call it fucked up because he's actually right. He's actually right. And the onus shouldn't fully fall upon cannabis for restorative justice in all aspects. But it is nice to say that here, we've created this wrong in our lifetime. We can also fix it with cannabis, right?
Look at that.
So, like, we can allow you an experience. But that's not what's happening. I agree with you.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that, Mathieu St. Germain. You're right with your commie talk today.
High five, Jenny. Oh, wait, where'd my arm go?
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Disappeared.
We're going to roll into a commercial. We're going to be right back.
I'm Cole Preston, and today I'm at Blue Island Beer Company for the premiere of my mini documentary on legalization policy in Illinois. I've been following cannabis policy since colorful Colorado legalized it all the way back in the day, and when my home state of Illinois decided to legalize it, I just became enamored. I wondered, what would it actually look like? If you'd like to see how Illinois fell short in achieving meaningful reform in their cannabis policy, you can watch my mini doc now at colememo.com/minidoc.
Yeah, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. I know we'll appreciate it, you'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And I personally want to thank all of you guys out there for watching, because over the weekend we surpassed 950,000 views on this channel, on our way to 1 million views, and we appreciate all of you tuning in. I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi. Ah, yes, and we are back. And we do want to thank the C Word with a big old super chat who said, thought I saw one or two of you at HOF, which is Hall of Flowers, but I'm so shy that I didn't say hi. Kissing emoji, you guys. So he probably would have saw you, Yarrow, and you, Mathieu St. Germain, because we know you both were in attendance at the Hall of Flowers up there in Sonoma County on Friday and Saturday.
Somehow I missed Yarrow. I didn't see him anywhere.
Well, that's because he's so short.
I didn't see him either.
It's so short. He's easy to blend in the crowd.
Both so short, we're lost in the crowd, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
No, listen, I went both days. I brought the dog day one. I was there, and then I didn't even know you were there. And then I saw you post on social of you relaxing in a beanbag chair, and I was like, where was MSG?
Mathieu St. Germain actually held his own competition for flowers during the whole Hall of Flowers festival.
I did.
Yeah, he was the sole judge, and he picked all the winners.
All of them are fire.
How much did you make off that competition, Mathieu St. Germain?
$0, bro. I have fucking upright integrity, my friend.
Oh, man.
All of flame with Sours.
Oh, boy.
That's right. Skittles by Sour Diesel.
Oh,
Knockout shit.
Get it. Well, coming up next, he is the man who is just a little bit taller than Yarrow. He is the immortal one that doesn't need to stand on telephone books because he has one big ol' Encyclopedia Britannica. That's right, it is none other than the Count himself, Mr. Mathieu St. Germain.
Well, thanks, brother Jason. Happy Monday, everybody. I don't know if that's true. I think Yarrow and I have to go shoeless back-to-back to see who is the reigning champion.
Well, when we do this, we have to get a video of this so that way we can create some content of you guys going back to back.
Oh boy,
we're both about an inch or two away from being a legal midget or whatever you would call that.
Under 4'11", under 4'11",
show fired.
Under 4'11".
Oh, I've got another great story. It's for a lot of hope for the entire world. Cannabis and psychedelic use reaches historic highs. Unlike me and Yarrow. Cannabis and hallucinogen use among adults continued to reach historic highs in 2023, according to the latest findings from the NIH-supported Monitoring the Future survey. Study, which tracks substance use behaviors among adults, highlighted key trends in drug consumption across various age groups, signaling ongoing changes in substance use patterns. Among adults, age 19 to 30, man, those were some good years, 42% reported using cannabis in the past year, with 29% reporting past month use, 10% engaging in daily consumption. The 35 to 50 age group, that was also a nice time. Corresponding figures were slightly lower at 29, 19, and 8% respectively. These trends reflect a significant increase over the past 5 and 10 years for both age groups. Guess like me, if you're 52, you don't count anymore, so get bent. Hallucinogen use has seen similarly a rise with 9% of younger adults, 4% of middle-aged adults reporting past year use of substances like LSD, magic mushrooms, and peyote. These numbers represent a 5-year upward trend in psychedelic use, driven by growing interest and availability of these substances. Vaping also remains at historic highs among younger adults in 2023, with 25% of adults aged 19 to 30 reporting vaping nicotine, 22% vaping cannabis. Among the 35 to 50 crowd, Nicotine and cannabis vaping held steady from previous year, although long-term trends in this group are still emerging, as a survey began asking these questions only in 2019. Notably, gender gap in cannabis use has reversed among younger adults. The first time, women aged 19 to 30 reported higher past year cannabis use than men in the same age group. However, aged 35 to 50 continued to report higher use than women, reflecting a decade-long pattern. While smoking and daily alcohol use continued to decline, woohoo! Binge drinking saw an uptick among 35 to 50-year-olds. Probably all that pandemic stress still playing out, underscoring the evolving landscape of substance use across adulthood. These findings highlight the need for ongoing research into the risk and potential therapeutic benefits of substances like cannabis and hallucinogens. This, to me, is just great news. I'd like to see less smoking and less drinking than ever before, and more use of psychedelics and cannabis. And I, for one, am hoping this is going to lead to a kinder, gentler, cohesive, and compassionate America. Really interested to hear what my hosts and guests have to say. This is St. Germain on a Monday for the High at 9. Take it away, y'all.
Man, what about this, man? These psychedelic researchers, man, they're really trying to push all this psychedelic shit, Mathieu St. Germain, especially after their whole big mishap.
They are being proven repeatedly to be non-toxic and incredibly beneficial. And with MAPS dropping the ball kind of off to the side, I think that has more to do with the way they handle that trial and the psychotherapy aspect and not actual substance itself. And I think a lot of that's going to come clear in the next 6 to 8 months. You know how that always moves at kind of a glacial speed. But for the most part, what I'm seeing too, and a lot of it's anecdotal, but I'm seeing a lot of people using mushrooms and LSD and Wachuma or San Pedro cactus as a microdose, and people in a better mood, exercising more, drinking less, and smoking less. And I think that is just great news for everybody. What do you all think?
I totally agree with that. I totally, I do find it super, super interesting that they keep on pushing all of these psychedelic treatments and whatnot, and these psychedelic studies. Who's funding this study? That's the real question.
This is an NIH study, so it's the National Institute of Health. This is the federal government kind of just keeping tabs on, what folks are doing as major trends. And one of the reasons they do that is so they can figure out how to apportion money for healthcare, et cetera.
So we know that the federal government grows weed in the University of Mississippi, but where do they grow their mushrooms at, Mathieu St. Germain?
So for their test, they're using single molecule psilocybin. They're not actually using the mushrooms.
So they're using a synthetic pharmacy-derived
usually an
version.
extract, and so it's not synthetically made. It's actually extracted from mushrooms, I would think.
Okay, so then they have to be growing mushrooms then, because they have to have a source.
Yes, they would have to be growing mushrooms then, yes.
So what college is growing these?
I think we're going to have to find out and infiltrate.
I think we need to find out. I think we need to do a FOIA request to find out.
You guys gonna oh God.
What's that? Well, just one at a
You
time.
gonna free the monkeys while you're in there too? You guys just gonna go steal all the mushrooms, free the monkeys?
Whoa, all that. We're not at the Playboy Mansion. What are you saying, Yarrow?
I was just saying follow the Paisley Trail. I'm sure there's some place where they're growing mushrooms, extracting it, coming up with some type of attempt at a standardized dosing. Mathieu covers this vein of news regularly. And what I would say is that the news coverage seems to be mostly consistent across the board in terms of more people using psychedelics, especially microdosing. I think the good news here is that people feel comfortable to do this. They feel comfortable to acknowledge or report it when interviewed. It does seem like it's a place where there continues to be more and more involvement by a wider cross-section of society. I'd say the bad news in this article is that vaping remains at historic highs, is a quote from this article, including 25% of adults 19 to 30 nicotine and 22% cannabis in that age bracket. And I think the jury's still out around vape tech safety for things that are not built to medical device grade standards. And I don't think that a ton of vaping, whether it's cannabis or nicotine, is probably particularly beneficial for 19-year-olds. So I think that's the black eye on what I think would otherwise be construed as optimistic reporting around this around increased use of psychedelics. I also think that we don't have the data, at least in this article, about sort of that inversely proportional relationship of increased use of psychedelics versus decreased use of antidepressants or some of these other pharmacological solutions that some people have already been using or are seeking to use. Hey, I can't talk. I'm on High at 9 News, goddammit!
Oh,
Sorry
boy.
about that. And so I do think that, we're going to continue to see. It was probably
Just
my
press,
mama.
can I call you later?
Yeah.
No, I'm channeling my inner Bobcat, my inner.
Oh boy. He's going down the rabbit hole. He got the.
Are you okay, Yarrow? I've been concerned.
He must have got the dose from Mathieu St. Germain. They've been sharing the same
Yarrow's
water
macrodosing today, y'all.
Something.
I did a little research. And I found that all of
Bobcat
the
Goldthwait. That's me.
who specifically is cultivating it. It does say that Penn State University is the only academic institution in the United States that has a facility dedicated for the cultivation of for cultivated mushroom research. So I would assume that Penn State is where you want to go, Mathieu St. Germain.
Interesting, because Eddie Funksta in the chat, he says Johns Hopkins University, and he says that Dennis McKenna is the head of their research.
So it says that Johns Hopkins was awarded a grant to explore the potential impacts of psilocybin on tobacco use, but Penn State is once again saying that they're like a facility dedicated to the cultivation.
McKenna's a name that is royalty in the psilocybin community, so I'm gonna go with Johns Hopkins.
Yes, we know.
And on that, we're gonna roll into our final commercial, and we're gonna be right back. All right, you guys. Well, we have just crossed the 4,000 subscriber threshold, and we want to thank all of you that have subscribed. But we need to do more. We need to get to 10,000 subscribers. And as a thank you to all of our subscribers, I am going to hook up a half a pound of cannabis. That's right, you guys. We are going to hook up a half a pound of cannabis to our subscribers. That's right. 8 of you will have the opportunity to receive 1 ounce of true classic OG if you are chosen. And if you're wondering how you can get your hands on one of these 8 ounces, all you have to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's right, High at 9 News on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell when you do. And you could be enjoying an ounce of cannabis right here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or maybe even right here in the studio with me. Make sure you hit that like button and share this post, because it may increase or not increase your chances of winning. You must be 21 years old or over, or be a valid California patient, 18 years and over, with a valid recommendation to win. Winners must redeem their prize here in the state of California at any one of the 28 Catalyst retail locations throughout California. Cloud Media is not responsible for any consequences that may occur as a result of consuming cannabis. Please smoke and consume responsibly. And remember, I'm Jason Beck, and I only smoke the best weed in the world. And if you want to smoke as good as I smoke, then you need to make sure that you're a winner in this competition. Money.
Say that.
Probably smell like money.
It's in the chat. Only someone who
And
can
we're
read.
back.
It's probably. Well, coming up next, that's right. It is the man, Mr. Yarrow Kubrin. He does cannabis. He does cannabis real estate. And he does regular real estate. That's right. So if you're up there in the greater Northern California area, he might be able to show you some property, especially if you're a single lady. That's right. It is none other than Mr. Yarrow D. Kubrin.
He's grumpy. Single ladies, hit him up. He needs it.
Oh my God.
Somebody needs to off gas, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. He's looking for a new mama bear, you guys.
He's a little pent up, if you will.
Yeah, he's not tall enough, so it's like he fills up faster.
I think we're going to have to put Jason and Yarrow back to back, too.
Yarrow needs to be extracted.
I'm with it all day.
I do real estate, regular and irregular real estate.
Is that what you call that?
I don't know what to call it. Oh, man.
You're the shortest news team on the scene.
They used to just call it showing property.
Me and my band of merry men.
I put the bite in sound bite. All right, let's get to it this morning. Good morning, High at 9 News viewers. This is Yarrow. Hot off the press this morning. I'm reporting to you from Cannabis Business Times. A little update on Nebraska. So without further ado, cannabis judge could dismiss lawsuit targeting cannabis ballot measure this week. Lancaster County District Court Judge Susan Strong is weighing prohibitionist claims about signature validity for 2 legislative petitions. This week in Nebraska, a judge intends to decide on a motion to dismiss a lawsuit attempting to prevent a pair of medical cannabis legalization measures from appearing on the November ballot. Lancaster County District Court Judge Susan Strong said September 20th she hopes to work, quote, as expeditiously as possible, unquote, to resolve claims that signatures certified by Secretary of State Bob Evans were invalid, the Nebraska Examiner reported. Former State Senator John Cahoon, who represented Nebraska's 38th district from 2015 to 2019, is challenging the validated signatures in a lawsuit filed September 12th, the day before Evans certified a pair of petitions sponsored by Nebraskans for medical marijuana as sufficient to go before voters. A long-standing prohibitionist, Cahoon argues in the lawsuit that numerous signatures are invalid and unlawfully accepted by the secretary, suggesting that certain signers were not registered to vote, signed a petition more than once, or did not properly fill out their information on the petition. The lawsuit names Evan, as well as the NMM sponsor Krista Edgars, State Senator Anna Weishart, and former State Senator Adam Moorfield as defendants. In a motion to dismiss the lawsuit, NMM's legal team said Coonan's requests are the equivalent of a recount, and that Coonan believes he is best equipped to make important election decisions currently left to the sound discretion of our election experts. Sponsored by NMM, Initiative 437 intends to protect medical cannabis patients from criminal charges and prosecution by legalizing up to 5 ounces of medical cannabis, while Initiative 438 aims to adopt state law to establish a framework for a regulated medical cannabis marketplace with licensed businesses regulated by the Nebraska Medical Cannabis Commission. In asking for judicial relief, Cahoon requests that the court act as quickly as possible to rule that the initiatives are legally insufficient and invalid, or to prevent the November 5th election result for the initiatives from being certified. Strong says September 20th that she hopes to resolve the claims before the election. Though I understand we don't have to, she said during an initial briefing, I think it would be best course. In addition to questioning signatures, the lawsuit claims Weishart violated state law by failing to disclose her full address as a sponsor for the petitions. You have a typo, never mind democracy. NMM released a public statement September 20th regarding the lawsuit. It is unfortunate that an extremely small minority of individuals have taken it upon themselves to attempt to silence the voice of the people, Edgar said in a release. We have long been fighting for Nebraska's most vulnerable patients, including our children and elderly, who are continuing to suffer through painful medical conditions after other treatments have failed. And when medical cannabis, an evidence-based treatment for many ailments, is accessible to patients one state over in every direction. Edgar's 9-year-old son battles severe epileptic seizures. Her cannabis advocacy work comes as Nebraska is one of 9 prohibitionist states in the U.S. that does not even have a medical cannabis program to any degree. Until certifying the NMM initiative on September 11th, Emnen said each petition collected more than 89,850 signatures, nearly 3,000 more than the roughly 87,000 valid signatures needed to appear on the ballot. And Emnen's certification came just hours after Nebraska Attorney General Mike Hilgers held a press conference to announce an investigation in Hall County that led to felony charges against an individual accused of signature collecting fraud. I am certifying the petition because at this point they appear to have met the threshold signature requirements, Emnen said in a press release. That could change in light of the Attorney General's investigation. Both cannabis petitions will appear on the ballot, but a court could order later that the initiatives be thrown out. In light of the investigation in Hall County, Edgar said NMM remains grateful for the outstanding work done by county election officials. As far as Kunin's lawsuit, this isn't the first legal challenge to NMM's year-long medical cannabis legalization fight. In 2020, years-long, not year-long. In 2020, the Nebraska Supreme Court struck down the group's petition after it had already been certified for the ballot because its justices ruled that the initiative dealt with two subjects, legalization and setting up a system to cultivate, sell, and distribute products. That's why the group put forward two initiatives in 2024 to satisfy the state's single subject rule. Despite widespread support of medical cannabis from all ages, demographics, and political affiliations, we are not surprised by the lawsuit brought by those who want Nebraska to continue to suffer, Edgar said. We will stand committed to bringing access to safe and regulated medical cannabis to Nebraskan patients. Roughly 70% of the Nebraskans support legalizing medical cannabis, according to a February 2024 poll conducted through the Neelan Strategy Group. All right. That was a lot of words, big mouthful.
It was.
A lot of article to read. However, I chose this because we have covered Nebraska here in the recent
we've been covering this
past on this show. That's right. One of only 9 states to still not have a medical program. And here we go. Last minute attempts to interfere with the election process through the judiciary by a previous senator. Love to hear what the rest of you guys think.
Well, we've been covering this as this whole thing has gone along. Especially last week, we had two different days where this was in the news, and all that this story is really saying is that the judge could turn over the decision. So, to me, that's not necessarily new news. From what we've been following, that's just, of course the judge can do that. That's why it's going to a court, so a judge can make that type of a decision.
Well, I mean, last week we were worried about whether they were going to get everything in time to have all the signatures validated, right? And it seems like now they're going through it.
That was at the beginning of the week, and then we covered when this lawsuit got filed. I think it got filed on Thursday, and we covered it on Friday's show.
Yeah, I was going through that, but that's okay. I was just saying it's kind of the progression, and this is like the process prior to a stop. So Nebraskans might have to wait a bit longer.
I don't think this judge is going to be able to overturn it based off the merits of the case. That's just my opinion.
And what's important about this article is what they haven't demonstrated versus what they have alleged, right? They're alleging that there are signatures that would make these ballot measures, but they haven't provided the evidence. They haven't gone through a court process.
Well, that's
they can
because
do that before the election or after the election, but they're trying to get that. They're trying to get it off the ballot entirely. I don't know how that supports a transparent due process that still allows voters to register their opinion through the voting process.
You know how this will probably end up, Yarrow? This is probably going to end up with the judge, with the judge saying that it will remain on the ballot and the people will have their will, and that there'll be a full audit done or whatnot during the time of the election. If there's things that are found that didn't allow it to be on the ballot in the first place, then it'll be removed. That's how I think they're going to have to
find 4 to 5% of these signatures collected are invalid. Or somehow voidable.
I think it's higher than that. I think it's higher than that. They actually submitted a lot of the signatures overdue to where the clerk
3% of 78 is 4%. That's where I came up with that math.
The clerk hadn't even finished.
3,000.
Hold on. The clerk hadn't even finished verifying all of the signatures, and they said that they have well surpassed the threshold needed to be certified. So he certified it before he already had even finished going through all the signatures.
That's right. They got 3,000 extra signatures on approximately 70 to 80,000 signatures. That these people are filing this. How would they have any evidence that 3,000 plus signatures are bogus? How would they have even been able to position themselves to have that information to support their claim? This just seems like they're just trying to gum up the process.
Oh, I think it's totally a gum up the process, and I would call this a prohibitionist member. But it's just part of the game. I think ultimately.
I don't know how far the stick is shoved up whomever's ass for them to just continually fight this electoral process in Nebraska. Like, just let it go. Maybe if you're truly worried about protecting the kids and things like that, why don't you worry about helping write sensible regulations? You're probably going to do a terrible job of it, so please don't. But I mean, it just seems like just let people vote. Like this has been 3 years running that the same group has tried to stop this process. Just let it hit the ballot.
Mm-hmm. I feel you.
It's the opposite. It's the opposite of weed for the people, right? I mean, here you've got polls indicating 70% of the population there is in favor of some type of medical program. We have no medical program. Been to Nebraska?
It's boring as shit. Give those people weed.
Yes or no, right? I mean, you make your own fun. So wherever you go, maybe it is boring. I don't know. But what I would say is that medical patients across the country deserve access, even if it's a terrible system, even if it's boof, even if they have to go too far to get too little. The notion that there's no medical system, and we had medical in California in 1996. Shows just how slow they are and how behind the curve they are. This is out of step with the rest of America. And according to the polls, it's out of step with what their population wants. So this is not democracy at its best.
Let them grow the green corn in the Cornhusker state.
And you guys, before we move on, I think the world is ending because the C word says, Nick, you said something I agree with.
Oh my God!
Oh man, I can't.
Too much agreement in the chat.
I can't believe it. Well, I have our final story for you today, you guys. There was a man, and I do want to thank my buddies over at the Lavender Boys. They sent us this over because there was a man flying from Bangkok. Faces drug smuggling charge, you guys. Man, oh man, oh man. A man has been charged with attempting to smuggle 1 million pounds of cannabis from Thailand through Heathrow Airport. See, it's not just LAX, you guys. Nathaniel Benson, 45, from Leeds, had flown in from Bangkok on Wednesday and was arrested after a border force officers found 160 packages of the drug in his suitcases. The National Crime Agency, the NCA, said he appeared at Uxbridge Magistrates Court earlier and charged with importing Class B drugs and was remanded in custody to appear at Isleworth Crown Court on 24th of October. A 41-year-old woman from Harrogate was also arrested, but later bailed out. The NCA said that more than 100 kilos of cannabis was recovered, which would have a street value of around 1 million pounds if sold in the UK. In August, the NCA issued a warning to travelers arriving into the UK from Thailand, Canada, and the United States that they faced jail sentences if caught attempting to bring cannabis into the country. After a huge upsurge in arrests, the NCA said the amount of cannabis seized so far in 2024 has already more than 3 times that they found in the whole of 2023. Well, I wonder if they're just looking for it more, and that's why they're finding more of it, and maybe they just weren't looking as hard last time, but I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I'm picturing what 2023's whole might look like.
Yeah, I wish they would have stated the number. they said they've already taken 3 times that amount, so I guess we could do some math.
I mean, listen, all right, it's happening. I think they're getting sick of it. I think it's become very, very, very open how trappy the UK is, and you know.
Hold on a second. But imagine this, Jenny. This is why I think this is so crazy. It's because imagine if you're like the pound of weed, okay? You're getting grown in California. You're getting shipped to Thailand to get shipped to the UK.
What if I'm the pound of weed that's getting grown by the people who left California in Thailand to get shipped to the UK? Because that's probably more going down.
No. Not buying it.
That's probably more what's going down, but okay.
That pound has more mileage on it than a lot of people.
Yarrow?
Oh, I wasn't gonna go there, but you know what I'm saying.
Okay, I might have deserved that one, but it still hurt my feelings. So, it's hard for me because on the one hand, coming from the trap, I'm always cheering the entrepreneur. On the other hand, this is so not personal use. This is so not just a little bit of extra money to pay your college tuition.
Yeah, it's not like a 5-pack, right? This is like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, I've been purposely trying to channel my inner rant-a-raver, and like, I'm just ranting to myself like, hey, motherfucker, could you have not cut it off at 100,000 pounds or a £250,000 pounds or $500,000? You had to go for the full million and then you got caught. What did you think was going to happen? Like, you can't, like, there's no mule big enough for all of that. Like, what were you thinking? And so I just, I want to feel more sorry for this person. This is an oversized risk. It's going to create an oversized consequence. That's too big, man. That's too big.
Have we like double checked the validity of the story? Because like, first of all, the suitcase in the picture is quite brown. I don't know in what year that's still qualified as weed, but that's definitely hay now. And also, like, it sounds like the 24-year-old girlfriend thought shit was going to be sweet. Date a trapper, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Now you're arrested and you done snitched on your boyfriend because your charges have been dismissed. That sounds a little sketchy.
But maybe this nothing's came out. Maybe she was an informant because they said that she already bailed out.
That's what I'm saying. I think she snitched on her little trapper boyfriend. They hemmed her up. She's 24. She starts shaking in her little British accent, and she goes, "He did it."
And maybe to be fair, I misspoke. Maybe it wasn't £1 million. It was £1 million as in the currency, meaning they're saying it's worth £1 million.
That's how.
So when I hear £1 million, I'm thinking LBS 454 grams. So they said it's worth £1 million. So we always have to, that could be a fire eighth, and they just gave it a street value. No, they're based. They base it all off the weight. I know, like the federal government, they base everything at $25 a gram.
Listen, either way, some guy got a little greedy. Sounds like he shot the moon here after he had probably moderate to success.
They said it was 160 suitcases, and so that's my thing. Is like, hey, pro tip: if you're going to smuggle drugs internationally, 160 suitcases.
No, it was 160. No, it was 160 vacuum sealed bags.
Hang on, because that picture, those peas don't equate. I wouldn't give you $17 for those fucking peas.
Yeah, but
the picture can't be what he took because there's no street value for
law
the
enforcement. Law enforcement doesn't quantify things by their quality level. It quantifies it by the weight. And
we need to start fact checking our articles.
That is a fact check.
I think this one might be a little bit bullshit. I think there might be some liberties that were taken with this one.
I don't know.
Look, you got me doing the Jason Beck hand thing.
Everyone's entitled to their opinions,
That's just like your opinion, man.
I mean, my heart is
yours just happens to be wrong.
My heart is with the home grow person who wants to grow a few plants in the backyard and be able to have some fun, or maybe modulate their homeostasis. It's hard for me. It's like, I feel bad for people being in prison for a plant, and I also. There's a part of me that just goes like, what were you thinking? Did you not think that this was going to end in a way that wasn't going to be great?
They thought the same thing that everybody else thought. That thought the UK was just going to let it come on by and pass your tea and trumpet.
Hey, they're like, we're not flying out of the U.S. We're going to come in from Thailand. They're not even going to be expecting this.
Idiots.
Man. Shout out to Hawaii Sustainable says in the chat, says, hey, it's just hey now. You're an all-star of British boof.
Jenny needs to be at Fox News. Oh boy.
And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank yous to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. We need to hit play. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. We're getting there, you guys. Developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to our Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do all this, whether they want to call you weed or hemp. You're all the same thing to us. And thank you to Cloud Media Partners, Millie in the building today. That's right. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.